we talk about folding phones, one of the primary shortcomings with these devices has so far been in the camera setup. A lot of these devices, because they have to fold over and double in their width, they end up having to be relatively thin when they are fully opened. Otherwise, look, if it's the same thickness as a regular phone and then you fold it, the thing's going to be an absolute brick in your pocket. So when they're open, they have to be thinner, and proper camera technology does require depth. These cameras have to go in order to be on the higher end. They have to have a certain amount of depth, is what I'm trying to say. And because of that, a lot of foldables don't have the best camera setup around. Now, when we talk about devices like the OnePlus Open, they managed to squeeze in a really, really high-end camera setup into this device, primarily because the camera bump sticks out really far. There's a case on this thing, so you can't really see it as well, but trust me, that's a massive camera bump. And it appears as though, if this tech leak is to be believed, we may be getting a similar treatment with a flip phone very, very soon. Let's take a look at this post here. This is on Weibo. This is a Chinese social media platform, and the poster here is Smart Pikachu. Now, I must tell you, I don't know a lot about this tech leaker, but there's a fancy crown next to their name, which I don't know what that means, but a lot of people on the internet are taking this post very, very seriously for whatever reason. So again, I can't vouch for this leaker. I don't know them, but other people seem to think that they are a reliable, reputable leaker. And what does Pikachu here have to say? Well, this has been translated from Chinese, so some of this may be a little bit weird, a little lost in translation here, but we'll try and feel our way through it. Vivo and Oppo have not given up on their small foldable products, but their progress is a half a year behind that of their competitors. So I take that to mean they're still working on smaller foldable devices. Well, what would be a smaller foldable device? Probably going to be talking about a flip phone, right? That does make sense to me. In addition, Oppo iteration will start to popularize telephoto and macro, including OnePlus iteration flagship. So let's break that down as well. What Oppo's working on is going to popularize telephoto and macro. So when we talk about these current crop of flip phones, we typically have a standard and an ultra wide. To do a telephoto that's worth doing these days, you kind of have to have what's called a periscope telephoto. You ever notice on some phones how there's a camera opening that is square instead of round? That is because it is a telephoto that is a periscope. Light goes in and it hits a mirror that is on an angle, which sends the light at a 90 degree, at a turn into the body of the device. Telephoto cameras typically need multiple lenses to do that magnifying. There's just not enough depth going this way, so they turn the light and they go that way or in some other direction, and that's how they make that work. Potentially, that sort of technology is what we are talking about here with a flip phone. They've done it on a fold phone. Why not on a flip phone as well? Now, I think it'll be useful to take a look at this page here. This is talking about the Oppo Find N3 Flip. Dark Reader's making this look worse, so we'll get rid of it. This was the most recent flip phone that Oppo released. Now, of course, Oppo and OnePlus, two sides to the very same coin. With the OnePlus Open, the Oppo Find N3 exists. It's the same device. The Find N3 Flip exists. There was no OnePlus Flip, whatever they would have called that. That device did not get released under the OnePlus banner. Perhaps the next one will. And if we look at this Find N3 Flip, obviously it's a pretty strong looking device, really, really large vertical cover display, which I quite like. And look at the size of that camera bump. And notice how, of course, all of those cameras are round. None of them have that square aperture, square opening on the front of them, because none of them are a true periscope. It is a much lower end zoom. We go to GSM Arena. Let's look at those cameras and I'll show you what we have. It is a 2x optical zoom, and that's exactly what I'm meaning. So if they're going to popularize telephoto, I'm taking that to mean we're going to go above a 2x, because to me, you might as well leave that lens off, right? Like if you're already using a 50 megapixel primary camera, or I guess it's a 48 megapixel. No, it will be the 50 because it's a wide, that's an ultra wide. 50 megapixel primary camera. That means you could just sensor crop in. Why even bother having the telephoto at that point? If you're not going to do something beyond 2 or 3x, give us a 5, give us something like that. There's not really a great point to that. Now, the OnePlus Open does only have a 3x in a periscope. Now, you may be saying, Shane, you've just sort of contradicted yourself, but the 3x in this device is, I believe, 64 megapixels. Trust me, when you do a 6x zoom, it is totally lossless. We could see something very similar in a Find N4 Flip, which could be a OnePlus Flip. Now, if we go back to this post and go back to one of the first things they said, their progress is a half year behind their competitors. What I take this to mean is they're just sort of running behind. Maybe they've kind of delayed their project. Maybe they're trying to sort of get it to a certain level before they release it. So it's entirely possible that we see a OnePlus Open 2, and then maybe 6 months later, you see them release a flip phone. Speculation, of course, and we have to take all of this with a pinch of salt because at the end of the day, we are getting our information from a Pokemon. At any rate, though, guys, what do you think about this rumor? Is that something that's interesting to you? Would you love to see a flip-style device with a much upgraded, much higher-end camera setup? Of course, we all know camera hardware, really important, but camera software often more important than that. You have to have both sides of that equation figured out. I think that OnePlus has done a pretty good job overall. I do think that this device has the best overall camera on a fold device, at least of the ones that you're going to be buying in North America. Perhaps they could do the same thing with a flip device and really put Samsung on notice by doing so. Again, hit those comments down below. Tell me what you think. I'll see you on the next one. And until next time, stay nerdy, my friends.